No, I'm not.
There we go. All right. Welcome to the Doctor of Digital podcast. And I've got a special guest today, and I can't wait to get into this and dive right into this interview. This is one of the most fascinating people that I've ever come across. But naturally, what I want to do is to address those people who are business owners, CEOs, marketing managers who are trying to grow their business with social audio, because this is the podcast for you. And that's why I really wanted to get a hold of my guest today, who's Lee Wang, because what she does is really talks to executive peoples all the time. So really what I'd like to try to address is, if you understand things now, you're going to reap the benefits later. So Lee Wang is my special guest today. She is an executive coach. And I love the slogan that she kind of goes by. It says, whatever you dare to dream, Lee will get you there. So one thing that we need is dreams, and also someone to assist us to get us there. Fascinating individual. So let me introduce her. She's the first Asian woman to complete the Explorers Grand Slam. So I'm hoping she'd tell us a little bit more about that, because I'm very fascinated by that and like to know more about it. Lee has been a sought-after international motivational speaker since 2010. She has inspired people across the world to dream big and really achieve that fulfilling life, work, and relationship that they are truly excited about. Today, as an executive coach, Lee helps business leaders accelerate their careers to exciting new heights and with ease and grace, lead their organizations to make a bigger impact, and connect deeper with the community they serve. So with that introduction, it's only a snippet of what Lee's background is all about, but welcome to the show, Lee. Thank you so much for taking some time out and being here today.
Thank you, Dr. Mick.
Certainly. So I'm going to come out with all kinds of questions. I got a ton of them for you, but really the first place to start, I think, is, could you explain to us, and for people who are unfamiliar with this, what is this whole notion of the Explorers Grand Slam? It's pretty fascinating to find out what this is.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, when I started out, I didn't even know this term. My original dream was when I wanted to climb Everest, and then trying to figure out how do I get there, because that time when I was thinking about it, I was working in the corporate. I had a background in IT and finance. I was working a very good job, investment management job in Boston. And however, I watched this documentary movie that make me start to wonder, like, I think I need to do something about my health. Someone so strong can do something amazing, and I'm just going to office spending more than 12 hours a day working, and where is my health heading to? So that time, that movie inspired me to have this wild dream, thinking, okay, maybe I'll go climb Mount Everest, which is a totally daydream at that time. And then, all right, I'll be realistic. You can't go there just like one step, go to the sky. All right, what are some other steps I can do? So I discovered something called the 7 summits,
Okay.
which are the 7 highest mountains on each of 7 continents. But okay, maybe that can be a stairway to Everest. If I can do 1 mountain a year, then if I can start from the smallest one, then maybe I'll be able to get to Everest. And then while I'm discovering about the 7 summits, I discovered, oh, and those people who climb those high mountains, they also go to North Pole and the South Pole on skis. That sounds really cool. I think that would be good endurance training. Why don't I do all together? So I learned that all together called Explorers Grand Slam. That is 7 summits and also ski to the North Pole and the South Pole.
Right. So I'm sure you had some negative reaction to this, right? Because this is not a typical thing that people do. Can you tell me a little bit about those who said, they probably said something along the lines like, what are you, crazy? Why would you ever do such a thing? What were some of the things that people said to you when you started to anticipate doing this type of journey?
Yeah, let me tell you the first thing I did when I dreamed up the whole thing. And as I said, I worked in IT and finance. So it was natural for me to plan everything on Excel spreadsheet. So I just lived out the mountains and destinations and years on the Excel spreadsheet. I named my dream and took it to my office at my investment management job and showed people, hey, you see, I made a cool spreadsheet, which is my dream. then people look at me, oh yeah, I have the same dream. I'm going to travel the world and do the blah, blah, blah. So everyone just laughed. Yeah, I have the dream too, because that's a really catchy word to say. I have a dream. And no one took me seriously, of course. But that, and also that the people around me didn't take me seriously. And people who took me seriously actually was mad at me. That's my parents. Like, what are you doing with your life? This is totally crazy. You can't do it. So yeah, so that either people laugh at me or think that's totally crazy.
So I would think that, the first thing that people would react, or you parents and friends and what have you, to say, why would you do such a thing? But since you did a lot of preparation and planning, this is got to be a team effort in some ways. And it does take quite a bit of planning. How do you assemble a team, and how do you get the equipment? How do you put all of this together in order to scale the heights that you have?
Yeah, that is a 6 years effort. Definitely take a lot of team, lot of resource. So when I first started, I know nobody. I just moved to Boston. I didn't even have friends. No one in Boston, and of course, don't know anyone in the outdoor circles. So I started by just Googling, made my spreadsheet, and then okay, how do I make the first step? All right, I need to learn hiking. All right, I need to search for outdoor club. I need to learn climbing. I need to search for the guide who can teach me. So I just started out by searching communities I can join and find out experts who can teach the class. I can sign up the class. So from there, I get introduced to more people learn. I was lucky because I was in Boston. There are a lot of the best mountain guides in the area,
Right.
and very approachable. So I was lucky to follow many of the best mountain guides in the industry to learn from them. And after that, of course, I realized my fitness is my bottleneck. So I seek out the best coaches I can find. So I just, everywhere I just go for the quality, find the best coaches that you can find to learn from them. And also join the community that is supportive, that fostering growth. That's super important.
Did you have to practice, so to speak? In other words, were there smaller mountains or other things that you did? In other words, did you work yourself up to this? Or, I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't just like go to Mount Everest and like, that's the first mountain. So what was that process, and how long did that take? Was that several year period that you were building up to be able to scale the highest mountains?
Yeah, definitely it was a long process. I started out first committed to going to the gym, go to take the simple things, say yoga class, go join a running team, start run as slow as possible, the turtle and the snail, but you got to start running. So I joined the running team, the slowest one on the team, the most chubby one on the trails, start from there and join the outdoor club to learn where do I drive out of Boston? Where do I get off the highway to find the trailhead? How to hike on the trail? What do you carry? How to read a map? So I learned from very basic things, doing short hikes, then slowly get comfortable with going in bad weather, going in the winter condition. And at the beginning, I always go with other people. Gradually, I gained skills, I gained the confidence that I feel, okay, maybe I need to try sometimes, be confident that I can handle things on my own. So sometimes go out on my own to train different conditions. So it's starting small. Like in Boston, we have access to New Hampshire, to Vermont, to Maine. So from the White Mountains, which is only a few thousand feet high, right, you hike 1 day, 2 days, learn to hike longer distance, learn to hike in harder conditions.
Yeah, that's interesting that you actually mentioned them, because I've been there and I was thinking of the White Mountains myself. So I was wondering if that was sort of the practice run in those kinds of areas. And if you could identify something like that, you're kind of hinting at it, was for health reasons or to get in better shape. I mean, was that the primary motivation? Is that what you feel like was the spark that made you, I mean, let you go in this direction?
Definitely, that was a sharp contrast because at that time I was working not a 9 to 5, it's like 7 to 7, at least 12 hours per day kind of job.
I see.
And I would begin to worry like, okay, what my life gonna be in 20 years? Will if I just sit all day long working like this,
Right.
will I be sitting in a wheelchair in 20 years or what?
Yeah.
So I don't worried about my future in my health. And then when I saw those movies, I thought, oh my God, a human can be that strong. That is so different. The kind narrow this gap a little bit by getting out of my chair, my sofa, get into some active lifestyle. So I was thinking, all right, I'm going to shoot for the star so I can shoot for the moon so I can land on the star. That's why I set a super lofty daydream and want to motivate myself, commit to go to the gym to do something about my health.
And that's what I find is so fascinating about your story too, because it's not just that you got in better shape. Let's say people starting to think about their health and they're generally concerned about it and they might go to the gym or something like that. But what you did is like way beyond that, because it's not just getting in shape or thinking about your health, but it's a really extraordinary act. And then you continued on, like, how do I go for each of the 7 continents and each of the highest mountains on those continents? So, I mean, what do you think made you go even like that extra step? I mean, this is not an ordinary thing that people do, obviously, but a lot of people would handle it in a sort of normal way. And they would do some ordinary things like just get better shape or go to the gym. What was it that got you to go to like that next extraordinary level?
Yeah, thank you. I was pretty lucky that little spark actually exploded into a big fire, because once I start to get a little bit taste of being able to do something I thought was impossible. For example, the first time I took introduction to rock climbing, at the beginning I said, no way, that's not possible. That's not me. I would never do something like that. But when the first day I took that class, I got to top of the rope. I said, wow, look how high I went, actually only a few feet on the first day, right? But for me, that's a giant step. I was marveled at my own accomplishment, that 5 feet off the ground. I was so proud that, oh, I want to tomorrow, can I go a little bit higher? So I went back to take the class the second day. I went a little bit higher. So every time, once you taste a little bit of that little reward, you are curious how far I can go. So once I hiked a few miles, and oh, can I hike a little bit longer? Can I go to a little bit higher one? So I keep on just that tasting that reward, keep on going a little bit further. So that helped me to experience something I never experienced. Is wow, I saw that was my limit. I thought that was impossible. Then I thought, wow, now this, if I can do this, then what else? So that expanded my imagination, my horizon. Now begin to change my view of what is possible, what is the limit. So that also translated into my life is that when I look back and realize, wow, not only I climbed this rock, I hiked that mountain, I really see my attitude in life changed. Everything I see, I begin to ask questions. First question, you say, oh, that's too hard. Second question, really? Can you just make an attempt to see how far you can go? So after a few, this kind of experiment, I begin to shift my conversation. When I first thought, oh no, that's impossible. Then my second question is, really? Can impossible be possible? Then after a while, you stop doing that 2-step, it become, I think everything is possible. I'm not even questioning it. I'm just, if I'm going to dream about it, I will go try it. That's why it become my motto is that if you dare to dream it, I think you can achieve it. Because once you dare to dream it, you start to make the effort. Then you're going to go way beyond what you think you can go. And that's how we achieve something that now look back is a big dream, is something impossible. At that time was just one step at a time.
Yeah, that's what I find is that's so fascinating about your story. In other words, there are things that if we were just reading a brief bio on what you did and the things that you've accomplished, you would be a very accomplished individual. That is, you grew up in Beijing, came to the United States, got an MBA. And if you just saw a bio, the person would say, well, that is an extraordinary person. They've done some things that are really remarkable. But what you're pointing out is you're really going to what you're saying in your motto, which is if you can dream it, you can actually accomplish it because you go beyond what would be even things that people would recognize as good achievements or satisfying things in life. You're really pushing it. And that's why I'd like to switch into the conversation into saying, how do you apply this to life? And how is it that you are able to take your accomplishments and then do more with it in your life?
Yeah, so once I tasted how sweet it is to get your dream, realize how to achieve something impossible, I begin to see the gap between me and other people.
Right.
That oh, I want to help them to taste it. I want to help them to experience it. Especially after Everest, people ask me, "Oh, what's the next mountain?" But in my mind, it's not really fun to go to the mountains by myself. I stand on the top of the summit. That's not fun. More fun is how many people I can take with me, how many people I can help them to do something they think is impossible. When you see other people stand on the summit, they dreaming about, they thought was impossible, that's about much, much more exciting than I stand there. So that's why I got into speaking and coaching. And I realized a lot of time people, they are they don't believe they can achieve it because no one else believes in them. It just needs someone to believe in. And I have experiences, so I know that I can see people's potential, and I can see they only need that little bit push to taste a little bit of reward. Then they can make the next step. Then they can take more reward. Then they'll be going much further than they thought and achieve what they thought was impossible. So that's why I find it so enjoying, like seeing people, they have a big dream. They totally don't think it's possible, but I can help them getting started, because first step is so hard, because when you don't believe it, you can't make the first step. I help them make the first step, help them make the next step. Then years back, they can look back, wow, something impossible became reality.
Sure. Well, let's take a typical person that you're dealing with, and let's say, because you're hitting on some really interesting points about how you can assist a person. But let's say you're talking about the average ordinary person who says, okay, I'm interested in talking to you and getting coaching from you, but I I can't climb Mount Everest. I can't do these kinds of things. It's so far beyond what I can conceive of. How do you assist a person to show them that there actually is a possibility for them and they can live out their potential?
Yeah, definitely. Like for example, when I dreamed about Everest, Everest is so far away. But actually, my first step I took was taking introduction to rock climbing. Go hike a little trail
Okay.
in New Hampshire. So I realized that having a concrete plan, actionable steps, practical steps, that is super important. So whenever someone come to me, even their dreams, they own their own business or get to a certain level in their corporate career, we don't go out just to say, how do you get there tomorrow? We'll see what's the next step. We make a plan and see what's the first step. How do you become a better leader in your current position? How do you improve your team with your current position? Once you make your team the star team, then it's natural for you to progress at the next level of leaders. So we can map out concrete things that you can see, okay, to get to the next milestone, I don't need to make a giant leap. I only need to improve, say 1% here, 1% there. Then accumulated, the compounding effect over time is gigantic. Then you're going to be able to make that leap. But every day that step is so small, you don't even feel that's so hard. Sure, I can just take one little step. I can't run a marathon, but can I just walk one more step tomorrow? Yeah, okay, I can do just one more step. Over the years, that can accumulate to a big marathon. So yeah, so that's why I help people start very small with very practical steps.
I see. And this is kind of like they work together. In other words, you're dealing with leaders and business owners and what have you. But just like when you're trying to climb Mount Everest or mountains that you have, there is a team involved in this. And I think you can also address the team. So, okay, the leader of an organization wants to take their team to the next level, and then they draw out their team members as well. And so, not sure how well you know basketball, but I always give an example. There's Michael Jordan for the Chicago Bulls, and there's another player like the other players on his team. Scottie Pippen was a decent ball player, but the champion, Michael Jordan, really raised him to the next level. Do you find that this is the case for the organizations and the leaders that you work with?
Definitely, because leaders are leaders not because they are the one who run fastest, who are the strongest, who can jump the highest. Leaders are leaders because they have a team that can support them, support organization that can grow together. The one word saying is the leader is the one who lifts other people up. So when your team rise to a higher level, you naturally are viewed as a better leader. Actually, is how much you help your team grow, is you help yourself grow too.
Yeah, there's an expression that rising water lifts all boats. It's sort of that idea that if the leader can go to this next level, then the other people as well too. And a team effort is like any team. I'm giving you a sports analogy, but just like in a team and an organization, not everybody can do everything. So what you do is you assemble that team, which is really effective and what have you. So you've been doing this since 2010. And what has your experience have been, and are people able to see what you've been able to accomplish as an individual and then be able to apply it to their own organizations? Do they kind of grasp what you're trying to do and the concept you're trying to get across to them?
Yeah, definitely. My approach is always coach the leader is the inner game. How you think about this
Hmm.
business game or the leadership game you are playing, how you play inside, and how you can pass this on to your team. That is the most important. So always, leader cannot become a better leader if you only grow yourself. So you have to grow your team together. So it's coaching the leader and show them how you can also coach your team to grow your team.
Would you say this is more of an inner process? In other words, if you're doing something physical, it's both the inner strength to be able to have the mental fortitude to continue, let's say, to take that next step, how difficult it is when you're hiking or mountain climbing. So is this more of an internal struggle you feel, or is it external and dependent on external factors? Which is more important, or what's the relationship between the internal and the external?
Internal is the core, is the foundation, is the answer to everything because external things, external factor can always change. You can always blame someone didn't make the best effort, someone is putting an obstacle in front of you, but it's up to you how you see it, how you're going to get over that, how you can turn that into the advantage because every obstacle in front of us is an opportunity for us to grow. If you have the right mindset, doesn't matter what's outside going on. That's your opportunity to grow. And that's what makes a leader. Because you can say, my team doesn't put in the best effort. So why your team didn't put in the best effort? How did you motivate them? How do you communicate with them? How you align them with your vision? So it's all about the internal game. If you see that yourself, how you should align, how you should motivate, how you communicate, then you can see how I can get into the inside of my team, help them to tap into their inner strengths. They see it's not about other people not cooperating, it's how do I encourage other people to cooperate? How do I make it a win-win so other people want to work with me, want to grow together?
Sure. Well, one of the external factors that obviously the whole world has been dealing with is the pandemic. And has anything changed since that time, or has it actually been more advantageous for you to get your points across to showing how you can raise a team or an organization to the next level? Because this is an external factor that a lot of people have been struggling with.
Yeah, definitely pandemic put on a hurdle for most leaders how do you connect with your team? It's harder with the distance, with not meeting in person.
Yes.
However, that's also your opportunity to double down on the strategy that works, which is communicate more frequently, connect more, really get to know your team more. In that, then you can connect with your team, engage your team more. So this is other leader who didn't do this, you can complain. Yeah, the distance, remote working, now everyone's disengaged. But if you double down, this is your opportunity to build a stronger team, attract better employees, create a more engaged team, because other leaders are not doing that well.
Right. And you can see that a lot of people didn't do well during this period. They let an external factor really affect their team and affect their organization in a negative sense. But you can also take, there's the expression that every change is an opportunity to grow. And there's one constant in life that most of us realize at some point in our lives, that constant change is the only constant. It's the only thing that we can rely on, that things are going to change. So if someone was thinking about working with you, and if they had a way to get a hold of you, what would be the kinds of things that you would suggest they get a hold of you? And what would you offer? Like, if you would say, what would be the kinds of services that you would offer a leader or an organization?
Yeah, so please get in touch with me at lay@journeywithlay.com. And for the first step, yes, we can have a quick chat, get to know each other. And if you're the right fit, I'm happy to offer you a free coaching session, either on leadership side or on business strategy side.
Oh, awesome. So many people have got to hear this. It's a fascinating story. It's very unusual. It's very out of the ordinary. And that's why I was really appreciative that you were able to spend some time and come on the show today, because this is something I think a lot of people need to hear. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time and taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with me today.
Thank you so much. It's so much fun to be here, and I love to hear from everyone.
That'd be awesome. Well, if you want to get a hold of me, fine, by all means. This is a podcast for business owners, CEOs, people in marketing who are trying to raise their organization to the next level. And particularly when you're using social audio. And one of the best and most effective ways is podcasting and interviews. So if you're interested in coaching, definitely keep in touch. So if you're going to understand now, you're going to reap the benefits later. If you have not actually taken advantage of the free competitive analysis of your website versus your competitors, get a hold of me. I'm available at 619-389-36. That is 3636, or Mick, as in Jagger, except he makes more money, mick.smith at WSI. We simplify the internet, WSIworld.com. That's it for this episode. See you next time. Till next time, Deus Volt.